Welcome, one and all, to Byte Size, the show where I interview developers and other individuals in tech to learn more about what they do and how they plan to make an impact in the world. And today, I am honored to be joined by Nizar, the creator of Igatha. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Absolutely.
How about you? Yeah, my bad.
I'm doing great. I'm happy to have you here and happy to have you as my first guest on this new show here. So feel free just to start to introduce yourself to the audience. It doesn't even have to be
Sure,
related to anything tech related. Just a little bit about you.
sure. So I'm Nizar. I'm from Lebanon, in the Middle East. I'm 26 years old. I've been coding since I've been around 13, 14. Yeah, I started out working on websites thanks to a challenge from one of my cousins, and things have gone have gone crazy from there. I then tried to pick up Android development. I haven't really found my way. I keep jumping between different tech stacks, but it's really fun working with software. And right now, I'm working as a software engineer at Sticker Mule.
Very nice. And I will say, I absolutely agree with you in the sense of like, there is just so much to do and like the urge to jump around and try a bunch of things. That urge is
Exactly.
definitely
It's really
there, I
hard.
feel, in a lot of people.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to choose just one path and just give up everything else to just focus on something. Uh, it fascinates me how some people just can find their calling in a certain vertical and just specialize there. It's it's been something I've been trying to chase. I'm finding that I'm more of jack of all trades, master of none, unfortunately. But there is a lot of fun with that as well. So yeah, still smoothing out some edges.
Yeah, no, you took the words. I mean, well, I didn't even say them, but you took the words right out of my mouth. Exactly what I was thinking was like a specialist versus a jack of all trades, and sometimes you need one, sometimes you need the other. But I think being a jack of all trades is a great thing. Tell us a little bit about sort of the project that we're here to discuss today. Tell us about Igatha.
So Igatha is a word that means relief in Arabic, and the project started out during the war that was in Lebanon from last year, right?
Hmm.
Most of 2024. The situation, like, I will not get into politics. I don't really care that much about the politics part of it. The reality was that buildings were being struck and buildings were collapsing, and I really wanted to help. Other than just with donations, like I did consider donating. The donation part, this is gonna be questionable, but I mean, might as well provide some hot takes here. So the problem with donation in Lebanon, especially, is that I don't really trust that it would go to the right people or to the people that would really need it.
Hmm.
It's just a problem that we have here. There is a level of corruptness that just makes you suspicious of where the money would go if it would really help the people that you wanted to help. So I wanted to help in different ways, and the every time I thought about it, like, if I would go down to the street, there's very little that I could help with because I don't have the right training for to be a first responder, right? I have no knowledge there, and putting myself in more danger would affect the people that rely on me. It would affect them a lot because it would be a huge problem if something happened to me. So I kept bashing my head at the idea of, yeah, I wanted to help, but I can't. I wanted to help, but I can't. Until I remember the project I did at university that used nearby messaging. Nearby
Mm-hmm.
messaging had just gone out, and I was like, why can't I use nearby messaging to help out when finding people on the rubble? And you might wonder, like, how would someone just choose to find? How would, like, why choose to help people trapped on the rubble? As I mentioned, there were a lot of buildings that were getting airstruck. I happened to see the rescue efforts on Twitter for people trapped under rubble. You'd see first responders staying there all the day,
Right.
from the start of from the bombing and the collapse of the building until like 24 hours later, where they're still looking for victims under a building, regardless whether they know if there were victims under the building or not. Sometimes they might have been sure there were no victims in the building. Sometimes they might have not been sure, so they needed to spend a lot of time to find whether there were people under the building or not. That's where I considered that nearby messaging could help. Even
Absolutely.
though, yeah, even though Bluetooth has some limited range, but I realized, well, if someone can get close enough, we can get at least a signal of life or not. Or not necessarily life, but if there is someone under the building or not, just to help the first responders know, should I spend time on this building or not?
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was the initial thinking behind that. So that's when Igatha, which is relief, came to be. Initially, it used GPS to help signal where exactly. It used Wi-Fi. Then I realized, well, we have very spotty Wi-Fi, and under rubble, there's no Wi-Fi. That got scrapped. GPS was being jammed. We couldn't really pinpoint where people are. That got scrubbed as well. So we were left with Bluetooth and just having a siren that goes for sound, because sound travels through solid items. So I thought that it might be our best chance. It started out as a very basic app where it just detects a very basic disaster, even though there's a huge false positive rate. It would
Yes.
it
Yes.
would be good enough to ensure that anyone who needs help would survive, instead of having someone who might get stuck under the building and the disaster detection doesn't go off. Before I continue rambling, does that answer your question, or would you like me to expand in certain areas?
Oh, no. That does a phenomenal job of answering the question. I mean, there's plenty of directions we can go from here, but the first question really was just like, what is the tool and what gave you the inspiration? Absolutely, that is a great answer, and I do think that you bring up a good point. That, I mean, regardless of whether or not you know where money is going when you make a donation, like you could be, like you said, you could be skeptical where the money is going. You may know exactly where the money is going, but whether or not that is the case, I do think that it is. I feel that a lot of people would agree that there is a big difference between simply donating your money and donating like your time and your effort and going out of your way to make something to actually try and make an impact. And I think that is a really kind thing that you're doing.
I appreciate the words. I mean, it's definitely like that's the goal, right? To contribute in a meaningful way. When I finished the app, there was a ceasefire just started in Lebanon. So it was like a week between finishing the app and a ceasefire starting. I tried reaching out to civil defense, civil defense and the Red Cross, because they're doing most of the efforts on the ground. That unfortunately didn't go anywhere, but I later on gave up on it, unfortunately, because of the ceasefire. There was no more need there. So I stopped putting effort there and just put the app back in a drawer and closed the drawer. And unfortunately, in Lebanon, we couldn't really make an impact in terms of the meaningful impact that I wish to do. The thoughts behind it, I appreciate the kind words, but unfortunately, in reality, the reality on the ground was entirely different. It didn't really contribute much or change anything.
Yeah, no, but I think it's still entirely fair. Like, I mean, you say it's like both sides of the coin. It's like, well, of course, I'm sure you're certainly happy that there was a ceasefire, and then at the same time being like, oh, but but being like, oh, but I was trying to help, and like now my effort almost seems like it was for nothing. But I think the other side of that is, there will always be conflicts in the world,
For
and
sure.
I think this is the type of thing that is,
Unfortunately.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, of course, unfortunately, but this is the
Yeah.
type of thing that is, not going to be limited to one single scenario, and so I think to just have it there, even if, like you said, it's in a drawer, to be able to pull that out at any point and be like, oh, here's another situation. I have a tool. Let me try and get it out there. I think it's
Yeah.
great. I think maybe
That's a
this
great point.
next question is a little bit, maybe one that is not the most in depth, but why did you choose open source for this project?
I love open source. It's so just a small backstory before I before I
Go
dive
ahead.
into
Go ahead.
the why open source. When I first before I learned about Git and GitHub, I was doing apps on my just laptop and not committing them anywhere, not sharing them anywhere,
Hmm.
and I would usually mess up my laptop because I was still learning Linux, and I would lose all the data that I had, and everything would go, it
Yeah.
would just disappear. Then I discovered Git, and I started pushing my projects there. And suddenly, one of the projects started getting attention, and that was really cool. And at that time, I also started to learn about other projects that are available on GitHub, and I started wanting to contribute to building the stuff that I was using, and that made me fall in love with open source, where you just you give and you get, which is a really nice environment where you kind of share what you're building, and sometimes people find what you're building like years after and they still like it, and that's really satisfying. But at the same time, you also get to work on the stuff that you're using, and that was also a satisfying part. Now, regarding open source for that project,
Hmm.
so I've been wanting to work on open source projects for a while. I tried my best to find jobs that require just contributing to open source. That I'm still working on that. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it goes in a different direction.
Right.
Um, but I thought I wanted to build something that's open source, and what better to build than just health apps or medical apps or disaster apps that people really need, right? Because the alternative right now is Apple and Google. And
Hmm.
right now you have Apple that has amazing crash detection. They have amazing heartbeat sensors and then technologies that discover whether you're at risk of a heart attack or whether you have fallen on the floor or not, just from the watch, right? And then from the phone.
Right.
Their tech is amazing, but it is only on Apple devices. And
Right.
Google devices have similar tech, but they're only on Google devices. And same with Samsung, right? And the insane part is each each company is rebuilding the tech internally.
Hmm.
Instead of building on some common ground, the way that research and science does, where they build something and they reiterate on top of it until we have something that's amazing, each one is building their own privately.
Right.
And most people, like this will sound insensitive, but that's another hot take, so might as well.
Go ahead.
Um, Most people who have this tech have it in first world countries where they don't crucially need this early detection and such as much as they need it in other countries. Now, there is still a huge impact that Apple has done through its devices
Right.
in first world countries, but we can't just dismiss the entire world because, well, technology didn't get there, right?
Right.
And this is one of the problems that I feel very strongly about in Lebanon, where yeah, the entire world moves forward, but then you have the other countries, the rest of the world, which is a huge part of the world that just doesn't get it.
Right.
One example is the offline SMS that, sorry, not offline. I think it's offline SMS or connect to a satellite, which Apple did. and Google is doing as well right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a trip to Europe for 2 weeks, and we crossed the border between Spain and Portugal, where there's no connection.
Right.
And I noticed my phone just let me know that, yeah, it's connected to a satellite now because there's no signal at all. Like, just to provide you an example, in Lebanon, where I am right now, we lose internet connection and phone lines every winter for extended periods of time. Actually, right now, I'm working on the hotspot that I have set up back there.
Mm-hmm.
Because my Wi-Fi isn't working because our DNS servers in the area are down for some reason. I have no clue how that happens, but yeah.
Right.
So the problem is there is no phone to call the Red Cross. Even if you have a cell phone, I have no internet. I have no cellular signal inside these walls. I need to leave the area to call, and oftentimes, unfortunately, the signal also goes down. So
Right.
we need these solutions for like connect to a satellite. We need such solutions for other phones, for other countries, and yeah, that's what. Sorry, it's a huge ramble, but again, that's why I wanted to open source Igatha, which is I wanted this tech to be on the lowest end of phones as well. I want this to be available so that anyone can build on top of it or use it or whatever in order to make a bigger impact. Because it's not going to change anything if it's going to help a single person. Because unfortunately, yeah, if it doesn't become a widespread thing, the larger companies are going to continue to just build their own private tech that they don't share with anyone and that is only available on their devices.
Yeah. Yeah. You made a lot of points there. I think though, sort of a big one that you did reiterate was, I do think there is sort of a connection of like closed garden versus open source, and also like greed versus community in a sense. Like closed garden stuff, like Apple's App Store. Even just a few weeks ago, for the past few years, there was the thing with Epic Games suing Apple about like their closed garden and the commission fees that they charge for in-app purchases that just got resolved a couple weeks ago, and is still having issues. But I think it comes down to like that greed kind of factor, and then the other side of it is the open source. And having things be openly available to the people who need them right away, and having no barriers. And yeah, I think that's a great thing to emphasize. You have done a wonderful job with your answers. You've covered a lot of ground. I actually want to circle back though on something you kind of did already mention, which is how Igatha uses how the purpose of Igatha is to detect people in disaster situations. I would love if you sort of gave a even surface level or elementary explanation of the technology for how that works. I know you covered it. You mentioned it very briefly, but I would love for you to dive a little bit deeper into that.
No worries. Sounds good. So the app Igatha is just very basic right now. It's just it uses Bluetooth and sound. That's all for now, but it has three different features. Let's call it that, right? Three different features. It has an SOS feature where you can signal SOS to people nearby. It has a disaster detection feature, and I'll dive into each in a bit. Disaster detection feature that detects when a disaster happens and signals SOS automatically. And the third feature is it is a way to scan what Bluetooth devices around you are emitting the SOS Bluetooth signal so that you can find them, so that you don't only need to rely on sound alone.
Right.
The send SOS signaling works by first of all, it works by playing a sound wave on the speaker. It's a dynamically created sound wave, but it's just like a siren. Basically, that's basically what it is.
Right.
The Bluetooth beacon is basically a Bluetooth signal that uses Bluetooth low energy. So there is a new form of Bluetooth that was created. Don't have much context about it, but it uses low energy. It emits a beacon where it just broadcasts this signal to anyone listening instead of broadcasting it to a specific device. It emits it to anyone listening with a certain code that helps us identify that this device is sending an SOS signal. So the Bluetooth has different codes, and one of them is actually related to health or urgency, and that's the one we use. Yeah, so it can be detected with different devices, basically, not just mobile phones. Yep. So this is the SOS signal. It's just Bluetooth, just broadcast emitting everywhere, and a siren that plays loud.
Right.
On the disaster detection side, you have three different sensors that we check for. We have the accelerometer. If I shake something, the airport case, if I shake it, it detects, it triggers the accelerometer sensor, and it detects movement. You also have the gyroscope, which detects rotation, right? So if I throw something and it rotates, that's the second sensor we use. And there's a third sensor, which is the barometer, which detects the air pressure and changes in air pressure. Unfortunately, this isn't available on all devices, so it is only used whenever it's available. The gyroscope and the accelerometer are more commonly available because they're used in terms of the phone rotation. Once it detects those three sensors are triggered above a certain threshold in a very short period of time, so let's say in 1 second, if all three sensors are triggered, this means that there is a disaster, and then it automatically starts the Bluetooth and the siren. So it automatically starts the SOS signal. And the third one is just the scanning for people nearby who need help. This uses your Bluetooth chip to scan what devices in your area are broadcasting that SOS signal from our app and lists them in front of you. Yeah, so that's how the app works.
You can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, it would be sort of the timing between the Bluetooth signals that you use to detect how far a device is.
That's spot on. It's more of the signal strength. I'm not sure if the device itself figures out the strength based on the timing, right? But in terms of as a developer, the code that I interact with is directly provides me the distance. It's called the Bluetooth RSSI, I think. Just checking really quickly.
Yeah. Go
It's
ahead.
the received signal strength indicator. Yeah. So it directly gives me that data. The amazing part is some devices, some advanced chips, or some more high-end chips, or maybe larger chips, I'm not sure which case it is, they also support the direction, which is insanely cool.
Wow.
But that's not available on phones, unfortunately. This is part of why we need something that's more open source, right? Where if we have a lot of people building on such stuff, we can kind of ask phone manufacturers to include better chips on phones for such humanitarian cases.
Right.
But that's an entirely separate topic.
Yeah. No. You've definitely made me go on a train of thought of if you had multiple phones and you knew all the distances, like then you could triangulate and stuff. And there's a whole, that is a whole discussion. But I think that's maybe beyond where we're at for this interview. Did you want to mention? I know that Igatha is not the only project that you are working on right now, that you have another one called Sada that's kind of hand in hand with it. If you wanted to mention that one as well a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. That's a great point. When we started working on Igatha, one of the largest points is that Bluetooth signal is extremely limited, right? We need to just broadcast this signal to people in a larger area to notify first responders and such. This was a huge problem because, I'm not thinking about different use cases. I'm thinking about the use cases in Lebanon and right now in Gaza, right? Because these are use cases that are closest to me. This that's the main reason. And the case here is that during these moments, internet goes down, and we don't really have the option of broadcasting this signal all over a different area.
Right.
And that's when that's why I started working on SADA. So I shared that I have my phone as a hotspot there, right?
Right.
And sometimes I can't move around the house and work because my hotspot has limited range. So I've been thinking about this for a very long time, where I want to make it possible to share signal even when I'm offline, right? Even when there is no Wi-Fi at my house, I want to have my phone in a great spot where it detects the cell tower really well, so that I can get a good hotspot signal. And then I want to traverse that signal onto different phones so that I can sit wherever I want in my house, so that I can use this hotspot even though I'm not close to it. And I know this sounds insane when I'm saying it.
No. I think it makes
insane.
perfect sense. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I've been thinking about just how to do it, and why can't I just bounce the signal the same way that I would use a VPN, where I would forward the signal from my laptop to this final phone, even though it has to go through different phones, and then back, right? And then I realized, well, why can't I do this at a larger scale, where instead of having an internet signal, like an active online area where I broadcast this Igatha signal onto it, why don't I just build my own network? We don't have any internet. Let's say when strikes were happening in Lebanon, we wouldn't have any internet. And in Gaza, for example, there's no internet in different areas. And I was like, well, why can't we create our own network to move signals, right? To move data, move signals, notify people, let them know, hey, first responders are needed in this area, first responders are needed in that area, and so on. And that's when SADA started, where it's a way to, it's like a fallback internet. This is basically what SADA is. It's a fallback internet. It's offline. It's an offline internet, not peer-to-peer network. It's not a peer-to-peer network. It's not a mesh net. It's an offline network that is built on phones and phones alone.
Right.
And then you can kind of connect that entire network to the internet with one single device. So all I need to connect an entire area to the internet would be one phone that's connected to the internet, and then all the phones in this network would have an internet connection without having an internet connection. So
yeah,
SADA works by having your phone act as a hotspot, and then connecting the hotspot to other hotspots.
Right.
Until one of the hotspots has an active internet connection. Now, I didn't break down the technical aspect of it, but if you'd like me to talk about that, that would be fine. Let me know.
No, I think you gave a great explanation, and again, I mean, I feel with every single one of your answers, you bring up a lot of good points. Like for example, like what you were saying about like extending signal. Like I believe it to be the case that things like Wi-Fi sort of repeaters or extenders, like those are things that already exist, and you would think something like, oh, let's apply that same thing but for cellular networks.
Exactly that, yeah.
You would think something like that already exists, but I think there is kind of an assumption of like, yes. Oh, but cellular, like everyone has cellular. It's like, well, that's not always the case. And yeah, the idea of like person A has an internet connection, but person C does not. But person C can connect to person B's phone, and person B connect to A, and you sort of just route all of the messaging and whatnot through the phones like that. It makes a lot of sense, and it is one of those things where you're kind of like, yeah, I'm surprised that there kind of isn't something already like that when, like I said, things like Wi-Fi repeaters, which are kind of doing a similar thing, exists already. I think it's another great point.
Yeah, I wish other things, like I wish as you mentioned, I wish that technology existed, but unfortunately the world the world is moving fast, and it's easy to just keep moving forward because I mean that's what we would wish, that the world is moving forward and that we are building at a similar speed everywhere. But unfortunately, the world isn't moving at the same rate everywhere.
Right.
That's the unfortunate case. Yeah. So just to recap, what you mentioned is the point. Unfortunately, there is a slight hiccup there because phones have only one Wi-Fi chip, so they can't broadcast and connect to a different device at the
Oh.
same time. Yeah. So there is some ways that we did work around that. But it's still a proof of concept. We're
Absolutely.
trying to apply it right now with the UN. We're trying to talk to them in case we can bring distance learning to Gaza through that technology. I'm not sure. I'm trying to see if that goes places. So fingers crossed. Not sure if it will or not. But yeah, the idea there is to use it with Igatha so that the shortcomings of Bluetooth is mitigated by the delay tolerant network protocol that we would have for an entire area. But yeah, that's
Gotcha.
yeah. I won't talk anymore about Sada.
No, that's
In
okay.
case you
Thank
want
you.
to talk about anything
Thank
else.
you for clarifying that. Yeah, because yeah.
Thank you for asking, by the way. So yeah.
Yeah. And last question that I had for you today, if there was one thing that you could tell everybody, what would be the thing that you would want to share and be the thing that is echoed from you, I guess?
So there are multiple areas, right? So I'm gonna try to cover each very briefly because I do care about a couple of stuff regarding
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The first is definitely to always, at least it's what I try, and I don't always do a good job with it, and it's kind of really cliche, which is the treating others the way that you'd wish to be treated, and
Right.
in more of a sense where it's treating others as if you're treating yourself, as if you're actually interacting with past you, where what is something that you wished was there? How is what is something you wished someone would tell you or do for you or whatever the case is. That is something I feel very strongly about because it is probably the point that from there things have really changed in my life in terms of self-worth, right? The way that you treat yourself, the way that you treat others, the way that you look at the world, the way that you perceive the world itself
Right.
changes based on that because it changes the way that you think in terms of what can I receive. It changes that into what can I give. And I'm not saying that as if, well, you just snap your fingers and you get there,
Right.
because even to this day, I still fall back into the loop where I want something and I want to receive it before thinking about ever giving the stuff that I never received, right? This is one side, and in terms of more technical audience, I
Yeah.
want to see more people build stuff openly without caring whether they fail, without caring whether they abandon a project or not. I want to see more people build things because it is frustrating how many opportunities people are missing by just not building the stuff that they love to build. And by that, I don't just mean the opportunities in terms of building something that becomes important or popular or whatever, because honestly, I haven't figured that out myself. I haven't figured out how to build something that becomes impactful today. Everything I build still ends up not being used. So that's something I'm still figuring out. But it did pay off in different areas. It did pay off in terms of understanding what I love to spend my time on. It did pay off in terms of job opportunities, career opportunities, interacting with amazing people, especially something like this opportunity. Right? Doing things out in public has more positive than negative, especially if you, as long as your intentions are in the good place. Right? There will be negative side effects sometimes, but whenever the intentions are good, it's always easier to go around any backlash or negativity or whatever that happens. I hope that kind of gives an answer to what you asked in terms of it might be a little bit cliche, but yeah, I am cliche, so that it's
Yeah,
pretty much
I mean,
something that.
to be perfectly frank, the question was also a bit cliche. So I guess I can't expect nothing more than a cliche answer. But I think both sides, like you said, more of just the general and also the technical. I think both answers that you provided were absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Well, that is the end of the interview here. So thank you once again for being a very, very wonderful guest.
It was a pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, and thank you for the audience who recommended that you interview. Like, it's just thank you to you and the audience. This, builders that people that are building stuff on their own don't really get that much opportunities. So to have something like this is just it's really nice. So it's really kind. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off with my audience here, and then we'll chat a little bit. That's the end of the stream. Thank you guys for watching, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.